You know that feeling when a new film drops and suddenly everyone's talking about it? Even if it's like not the usual big superhero thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, there's one making waves right now, but the
Yeah.
team, well, it's pulled together from a totally different side of the Marvel Universe.
Hmm.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping right into Thunderbolts.
Exactly. And this is really for you if you're hearing the chatter about this new MCU movie but maybe haven't seen it yet.
Right.
We're here to give you the inside scoop. Consider it your way to be in the know, without actually having sat through it.
Perfect. Because Thunderbolts is, it's interesting. It focuses on this group, this squad of characters who haven't exactly been front and center heroes.
No, not at all. They've got some, let's say, complicated pasts.
You could even call them the MCU's underdogs, maybe. It's definitely not the Avengers.
Absolutely not. So today, we're going to unpack what makes this movie tick. We'll look at the main story, the key players, all their baggage.
Oh, yeah, the bag.
And just get a feel for the tone, how people are reacting to it initially. Think of it as your spoiler-aware guide if you're coming in fresh.
Okay, let's get into this team then. Because the lineup is, well, it's got familiar faces, but maybe not how you'd expect them.
For sure.
You've got Yelena Belova, obviously a major player.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Bucky Barnes. But wait, he's apparently a U.S. congressman now.
Yeah, that's a twist, right? From Winter Soldier to Capitol Hill.
Seriously. Then John Walker, U.S. agent.
Right.
Alexei Shostakov, the Red Guardian.
Oh, okay.
Ava Starr, Ghost. And Antonia Dreykov, Taskmaster.
And the really intriguing one, Robert Reynolds, also known as Sentry.
That's quite the collection.
And what jumps out immediately is that these aren't your squeaky clean heroes. Not by a long shot.
Yeah.
They're carrying some serious scars. You mentioned Bucky, the whole Winter Soldier history. That's huge.
Still looms large, yeah.
And Walker's time as Captain America, that didn't end well. Lots of instability, controversy.
Definitely problematic.
Red Guardian brings the humor, sure. But his background is all Cold War spy stuff.
Yeah.
Ghost is literally struggling with her existence being exploited.
And Taskmaster was straight up a villain.
Right. And then Sentry, his power level is off the charts, but it seems tied directly to some deep psychological issues. Fragility.
So putting them together, I'm guessing it's not instant teamwork and friendship bracelets.
Oh, probably the opposite. Reports suggest they don't mesh well at all initially. And there's this undercurrent that maybe they see themselves as failures, as losers even. Adds a layer of vulnerability.
That sounds like fertile ground for the director, Jake Schreier. What's his take?
Well, he's apparently described it as very character-driven, aiming for, like, a human story despite all the powers and chaos.
Grounded, maybe?
Yeah, he used that word, a grounded take. The idea seems to be exploring characters who live in that morally gray area. Not good guys, not bad guys, just people.
Interesting. And it sounds like he wasn't shying away from bigger themes either.
No, apparently he wanted to explore things like depression, isolation, that feeling of emptiness, things that are pretty universal, actually, even if these characters can, punch through walls.
So it could have some real psychological depth then.
Seems like it. So how does the story actually get going with this volatile mix?
Well, it kicks off with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Ah, Val, still pulling strings.
Always. She seems to be the one assembling this team, giving them some kind of mission. But there's also noise around her, politically.
Like what?
Hints of congressional investigations, maybe even impeachment talk. So she's operating under pressure.
Okay, so she sends this team out. What's the first job?
It looks like a cleanup operation. Seemingly simple on the surface.
Yeah.
They go to this hidden Oxcorp facility out in Nevada.
Oxcorp. That sounds ominous. Weapons developed?
Yeah, shadowy, involved in weapons. So simple cleanup probably isn't the whole story.
Right, never is. And things likely go sideways fast.
It seems that way. The situation turns dangerous unexpectedly. There are hints of betrayal, or maybe they just realize they're way out of their depth.
And someone gets taken out early.
Yeah, word is that Taskmaster is killed pretty early on. A shock moment that really raises the stakes for everyone else. Shows this isn't a game.
Wow, okay. That changes the dynamic, and this is where Sentry comes in.
Exactly, Bob Reynolds, Sentry. He emerges from the chaos at this Oxcorp place. Initially seems unassuming.
But he's not.
Not at all. Turns out he's a survivor of Oxcorp's experiments, and he has unbelievable power, like potentially Avengers-level power.
Whoa.
And it's a huge but. It comes with serious mental instability. There's this dark force inside him called the Void.
So the team's mission just got infinitely more complicated. They're not just cleaning up. They're dealing with this incredibly powerful, unstable guy.
Pretty much. Their own issues, Val's mission,
Yeah.
suddenly might seem less important than just surviving whatever Bob is going through.
Okay, so where does this lead them? They don't stay in Nevada, presumably.
No, the journey apparently takes them all the way to New York City.
Back to the city.
And the climax seems to happen at the ruins of the old Avengers Tower.
Oh, symbolic. What's there now?
Valentina's using it as her lab, apparently. So it's loaded with the weight of what the Avengers were versus what this team is.
And the confrontation there, it's about Sentry.
Seems to be. He has power escalating, maybe the Void taking over. The team isn't just fighting him, maybe, but trying to reach him, help him manage it.
So less punching, more talking. Or emotional connection.
That's what's interesting. There's talk that the resolution relies on these flawed characters actually connecting, understanding each other, maybe even understanding Bob.
A non-traditional climax for sure, like the power of friendship. But for a group of broken anti-heroes?
Sort of. It sounds like it leans more into their internal journeys, their ability to maybe find some common ground, even with Sentry.
Okay, and how does it wrap up? What's the aftermath?
Well, the suggestion is the world might actually see them as heroes after this.
Yeah.
Like maybe they get hailed as the new Avengers because they stopped this huge threat.
There's always a but.
But the underlying darkness, especially with Bob and the Void, it's still there. It suggests their story and his instability isn't over. Their hero status might be shaky.
Got it. So, stepping back, what's the overall vibe people are getting from this? The tone, the focus?
It really sounds like the focus is heavily on the characters' mental states, their emotional struggles, their past traumas.
It's like a psychological study wrapped in a comic book movie.
That's a good way to put it. Some are even calling it like a group therapy session in movie form.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? There's humor.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, Red Guardian provides a lot of laughs, David Harbour doing his thing, and Florence Pugh's Yelena has that dry wit.
So levity to balance the darkness keeps it from getting too heavy.
Exactly. And while there's action, the feeling is it's more character-driven overall. Maybe Schreier's background in smaller films comes through there.
And the music. Any word on the score?
Yeah. The score by Sun Lux is getting mentioned as being really effective, really hitting those emotional beats.
Okay, so how are critics and early viewers actually reacting? Is it landing well?
Surprisingly well, it seems. A lot of positive buzz.
Hmm.
People calling it a refreshing direction for the MCU.
Really? Like one of the better ones recently?
Some are saying best since maybe Guardians 3. There are comparisons to Guardians, actually, that focus on a team of misfits, giving them depth.
That's high praise. Any major criticisms popping up?
A few things. Some felt the first act was a bit slow to get going.
Okay.
And that climax, the focus on emotion rather than a massive CGI punch-up, that didn't work for everyone. Some wanted a bigger fight.
Understandable, depending on what you expect.
Also, a few people mentioned it felt a bit like an overlong TV episode or maybe a pilot for a series.
Which might just be because they spend time setting up all these characters, right? Giving them space.
Yeah, that makes sense. You need time to introduce this many complex figures properly if they haven't all had solo projects.
And the post-credit scenes, always important.
Apparently quite significant this time.
Oh.
One scene, maybe the second one, strongly hints at the Fantastic Four's rocket arriving on Earth.
Whoa. Okay, that's a huge setup.
Massive implications. And there's a mid-credits scene, too, focused on Red Guardian.
Good stuff for the fans. Okay, so just to wrap up the production side quickly, they filmed all over, right?
Yeah, seemed like a globe-trotting thing. Kuala Lumpur, apparently using that huge Merdeka 118 skyscraper. Desert scenes in Utah. And then Atlanta, of course, using these studios and even building a New York City set there.
Got it. Covers a lot of ground visually.
So let's try and summarize the overall picture here. Thunderbolts feels like a deliberate step away from this standard Marvel formula.
Yeah, definitely focusing on these flawed characters, their inner struggles, more psychology, less straight-up superheroics maybe.
But still with action and humor and apparently a surprising amount of heart. Despite some quibbles, seems like it's being seen as a positive move for the MCU.
So, for you listening, if you wanted the quick version without seeing the film, key things are this unique, morally gray team, the deep dive into their mental health and trauma, and the fact that this movie could be pretty important for where the whole MCU is heading next.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it? What is it about seeing anti-heroes pushed into the spotlight that's so interesting?
That's a great question. And how does that focus on mental health land differently in a superhero story? Does it make it more relatable, maybe?
Something to chew on.
Okay.
We'd love to know what you think, actually. Even just based on this chat, what parts of Thunderbolts sound most intriguing to you?
Yeah, what grabs your attention? Let us know. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We hope this gave you a solid sense of what Thunderbolts is all about.